What's the smallest amount of power you've seen go to someone's head? What did they do? Rob got promoted from barista to team lead at Costa Coffee, a difference of 30 pence extra an hour back in 2006, and the next day he abruptly asked us to call him sir. I would go totally overboard until he asked me to stop calling him sir. Hey Jim. Could you change the "Oh yes sir Rob" of the house Costa Coffee? I will lay down my life for you, my lord. Dennis Rader, a BTK killer, became a security guard for a period of time. The dude power tripped so much on the job that he actually stopped serial killing during that time. The moderator of a very large college football team fanbase named the message board after himself. He will scour other teams' boards and ban you from his site if you bring up this issue. When I was 5 I broke my leg. So I had to go to school in a little purple wheelchair for several weeks. I became an instant celebrity and everybody wanted to be the one chosen to push me around in my wheelchair for the day. Quickly I realized that I could control the minds of my fellow 5-year-olds. Simply by hinting that I might let them have the privilege of wheeling me to the water fountain. After a while I had the cutest boy in class as my personal chauffeur. And the rest of the unwashed masses that I deemed unworthy were always clamoring to get on my good side. I ruled that first grade classroom. When my cast was removed, so was my power. My 3-year-old yelled at my dog because she wouldn't sit on his command. He ate her dog treat in front of her. I made someone my assistant on a project because I liked them. The position meant nothing in itself, but I figured I'd let them shadow me and learn a thing or two. He started acting like he ran the place. Asking people to do his work. Telling people off. Everyone basically took the piss and told him to go away. It was absolutely hilarious. One of the older ladies who has worked retail for years, on checkouts, was asked to cover for a supervisor for 5 minutes while the supervisor went to the bathroom. She proceeded to march up and down the line of registers watching all the staff like a hawk. And then reported back to the supervisor once they'd returned. We were all a bit WTF. She had this smug smile on her face for the rest of her shift. Edit. RIP inbox. Thank you all for your stories and comments. Had a good chuckle reading some of them when I woke up this morning. What the hell did she report? Reporting for duty sir. Employee on register 3 presses the buttons with a manner of insubordination the likes of which I haven't seen in my entire 5 minutes as Hawk face the Powernator. The dude who runs my Hoa is a maniac. 13-year-old me was given low-level admin powers of a CS server. I had the ability to kick, slap, slay, and change map basically. I had that for a day, then got warned by the owner that I could not slay or spam slapping a person over and over just for killing me. This sounds like what would happen if 13-year-olds could run COD servers. Moderators on a small message board. Instant assholes. Edit. I didn't mean Reddit mods. I used to work in Sears as a cashier. At the time, I worked there for about 2 years. It was my first job, so I worked my ass off. Top credit card sales and near top customer satisfaction. This mid-20s girl started working there. Instantly started bragging that she is making more than us because she has leadership experience she can share. She starts off each of her shifts telling us that we need to sell more credit and ask for more surveys. Meanwhile, she's still learning how to use the register and she probably had the worst stats that anyone had. She tries to tell me what to do and I just stared at her and blink. She didn't really like me. But about the first month in she got fired cause she stole hundreds of dollars out of the cash register. At least she figured out how to use the cash register in the end. I got to play as Ojib in GoldenEye 64. And anyone overhearing me talk to my brother would have assumed I had just been granted godlike abilities and went mad with power. My own. I was elected safety patrol captain in 5th grade and had quite the thirst for justice. My patrol people were late. They were fired. They talked back. They were fired. I ran such a tight ship. I don't know why. Any of you who were affected by my firing you, I apologize for being a dick. Monopoly bankers are always huge power fiends. They feel like they have already won because they have all the money and you are just playing on their board. Every hoe I've ever been associated with, I've heard it's really easy to beat the system. Go house to house asking homeowners to sign a form that will allow you to vote for them by proxy at the next homeowners meeting. The majority of people will be as fed up with it as you and will allow it. Then at the meeting bring up and push through whatever you want before ending with the rule that no decision can be made at the hoe without a 70% quorum being present. That never happens. Essentially shutting down the hoa. Playing Dungeons and Dragons. There was this one DM who I'll refer to as C. C hated this one player, M, to an entirely unreasonable extent. She was kind of immature at times, but she was a good, sweet person, and was very attached to her character. When she wasn't playing, she sketched her character, wrote fic about her character. You get the gist. C didn't often run games, but on this one occasion, he did. And one of the players was M. C spent the whole game session setting up a scenario in which M's character was forced to betray the Empire, was caught, and punished. He initially said that her character would be executed, but other players managed to argue him down to merely having this character dragged through the streets by wild horses attached to her arm. The character lost an arm. M cried for hours. C basked. He had a modicum of power and he used it to make someone cry. And he loved it. C and I are not friends. Because C is a f-king sociopath. M no longer plays pencil and paper RPGs. I wonder why. Some kid I knew was given a pity position of leadership in school club. This position was made for him because no one had voted for him as president. And the teacher felt bad. He then proceeded to take his title to demand changes. Boss everyone around. And he then says he had more power than the president. He became a total despot. Unfortunately the club disbanded because no one showed up to meetings in order to avoid him. An opponent in Dota 2 who was flaming me told me he was the youngest manager at his grocery store. He was a grocery store assistant manager at 19. Whoa. How many cashiers have you in the friend zone? Set him off pretty well. Someone studying music technology in university. They were in their first year and came back to 6th form for work experience. For a week there was an 18-year-old talking down to a group of 17-year-old like he was trying to explain fire to cavemen. Musicians. After developing a following that can bring 100 people to a show, somehow that makes them the next Bruno Mars, and that of course give them the right to be assholes to everyone that helps them along the way. And worse, assholes to the small group of fans they have. It's weird. Highly accurate. I've been in a few bands and we played with some guys who had both bigger and smaller followings. The guys with the bigger followings acted like they were the stars of the gig and it was just a matter of time until they were superstars of the world. Always acted like it was a favor to let us talk to them. The smaller bands? Often kind of bitter and talking trash on the sellouts who are big. And of course there was real middle ground. Dudes just there to play music. Some people want to be musicians. Some want to be rock stars. These are not the same thing. My teacher left the classroom for a min. Left me in charge. He returned to the Fourth Reich. The bell does not dismiss you. I do. I've encountered a few people on here who are genuinely very proud of their karma and mock new users for their lack of karma. Seriously. They're meaningless internet points. I was renting a room at a 5-bedroom house during college and some local woman in her mid-30s ended up renting the master bedroom, which in her head made her master of the house. She tried to inspect everyone's room. Would call our landlord daily to give updates on the house. Only for the landlord to call a different tenant right afterwards and complain that she did not know why she was getting updates. Had the cable and internet put in her name. Collected money from the housemates to pay for it. But never did. Started calling herself the house mom because she was the oldest and the only one not going to school. We assumed she was on some kind of drugs because she would come home at like 3 in the morning and reorganize our kitchen like twice a week. I can go on for hours. Bitch was crazy. PL. Just happened yesterday. There is a great coffee donut shop by my house. The baristas was this really nice, chubby gay guy. Made great coffee and was very personable. I stopped in yesterday and he had evidently been promoted to manager. He came in swinging his keys. Loudly told the other 2 employees what needed to be done. And, also loudly, told one of the employees how bad the other guy had messed up someone's order. He then made 2 huge fruit smoothies for himself and left. I ratted him out to the corporate office. I've done a fair bit of open mic stand-up. And I've seen some guys who run very small time nights behave like they are Lorne Bloody Michaels. The deli manager at the grocery store I work at seems to be under the impression that she is red from orange is the new black. Too many colors. I used to work at a small non-profit counseling agency for survivors of domestic and assault violence. When the executive director and human resources director each had to take extended leaves of absence one winter, the domestic violence program manager was the acting executive director. Although she was only in charge of about 15 employees. She quickly began releasing new rules and regulations memos and issuing demerits and warnings to staff members for doing things wrong. Wrong as in the way it was always done before you came to town. Missy. Close bracket. In her month-long reign as the Supreme she managed to earn 9 resignations. 1 walkout and never come back. And 1 veteran social worker crying in a bathroom for an hour. I was the front desk manager and recorded every single incident. The entire staff filed a grievance report against her and called for her termination. Somehow, she still managed to keep her job after all was said and done. I resigned along with 2 other co-workers. They just hired all new staff when the air had cleared. I wonder if she's still there making hell on earth for the new folks. Guild leader at a Renaissance fair getting all high and mighty about people showing up to every rehearsal and every day of the fair for their volunteer positions. A classmate of mine listed that he had been elected class president in high school as a merit rather high up on his resume. He was 26 and applying for jobs as a medical doctor. And just refused to understand why the rest of us politely suggested he remove the class president thing. I saw the guy go from E4 to E5 and threaten to smoke everyone he outranked the same day. And he was totally serious. College Raz. I don't even feel the need to tell a story. If you have lived in a dorm and had any kind of fun, you have run into the fun Gestapo at least once. 80% of college Raz are the type of people who feel it is a moral imperative that all rules are followed regardless of any sense of logic or reality. The other 20% are the people who were able to fake being that type of person during the interview process. My old boss. He ran our company's biggest plant and got promoted to head of our company-wide technical program. He stopped going to work ever for more than an hour a day. Would always fly to our Houston plant for no reason so he could bone black prostitutes. Do you know who the FCK I am became a daily occurrence? Would make engineers fly across the country to do a PowerPoint in person that could have been handled in 3-5 minutes over the phone. Started using company money to fly to Jamaica twice a month. At a former employer, one of my co-workers was told to run a daily conference call. The call was supposed to last half an hour and consist of quick updates from about 10 people on various trouble tickets. The company was an IT vendor for Fortune 500 companies. My co-worker was a holier-than-thou ultra, super, over-the-top religious nutcase. With a double helping of nuts. The first call he demanded that everyone pray for 10 minutes, 10 freaking minutes, before giving their updates. By the end of the first week the call was well over 90 minutes. As he always started with a prayer and constantly interrupted people while they were giving their updates with inane questions. When the second week started, several people complained and he was booted off and yours truly was put in charge of the call. He still had to be on the call. as he had deliverables to it as well. For the first week he still tried his BS. But I shut him down and he then accused me of being on a power trip. The call was backed at under 30 minutes though. When I managed to pick up Kuribo's shoe in Mario Bros 3. For brief 15 seconds I had it. I was God. Presidents of fraternities. Holy shit, talk about a Napoleon complex. This will never apply to anyone more than Mr. Arnold J. Whoa. Am I the first person to mention that, sir? Ghetto ass Fka's getting $10. The assistant department head at the grocery store I work at. He gets kicks out of telling the high school students there, myself included, what to do. He loves to make a big deal over the smallest things. I've worked there for almost 2 years and I'm at the point where I naturally do less when he is there. Thank good my actual boss is cool and hates him too. So I work my ass off when he is there or will be soon. You gotta give respect to get respect. My former French teacher kept me behind after class for drinking from my water bottle without her express permission. She demanded I apologize for the apparently heinous crime of hydrating myself. I mustered the most insincere apology I could muster and left. My friend took a CPR class for work. Now he thinks he's a combat medic. I was an intern at a local newspaper and had to cover a week-long folk dance festival in a tiny village. A local farmer was at the gate. I asked if I could come in. No. You're not on the list. Well. Where can I get on the list? Dot. At the office and he waved behind him. Can I go to the office then? No, you're not on the list. Had to find a payphone and call my editor who called someone in the office to put me on the list. Next day. Same gate. Different farmer. Hello, I'm from the local paper. I'm on the list. What list? That's not a power trip. He was just F-king with you. I once tested a 9V battery on my tongue. So technically a few MW of power went to my head. Edit. SpongeBob went crazy after becoming the hall monitor. So did Cartman. F-king Andrew the line leader. I was trying to hang my coat and he thought I was trying to budge him. So he pushed me and made me cry. That was the worst day of my life. Edit. OMG, yesterday was the first day I got gold and now again. Thank you to the amazing benefactors. Colon. Close bracket. Edit 2. 2 people suspect they might be the Andrew I'm talking about. They are wrong. One of my friends got a trial moderator position on a Team Fortress 2 server and immediately banned every single person on the server and then ID banned the admins and owner. That isn't power going to someone's head. It's just being a dickhead troll. A hairdryer. Anytime I, or anyone else, would get that one person seat at the back of the school bus, everyone else became the petty subjects of my yellow rolling kingdom. My CEO is always telling me to stop playing Far Cry 4 at the office. Dick. One thing I have seen are internet artists. You know. There are people you talk to that draw okay but are working on it and increasing their skill. They are trying to get to a skill of those really good artists you see online that do those professional things. Well. They start talking to those artists which they get better and better and then. Well. They stop talking to you and only talk to the other big named artists. When I was part of the DA crowd years ago, I was good friends with some people online. Then. Well. They got famous and just cold shouldered everyone else and only talked to the other good artists on the site. I mean. In terms of power. They have sway over fans that obsessed over them and create little packs. But no real power. Still. Having people that just turn into assholes that fast. Dwight when he got manager. Joe. I tease my cake day. Boat of my power. In the early zeros. I played one of those TTY PHP MMORPGs which had a forum and a combat built around clicking on people to see if your stats can beat their stats. The programmer thought it would be cute if muted people showed up in an area called jail and you could pay to have text, your username, threw a bucket of shit on their username, appear in history. To this end, a special admin role called Jailer was instituted. F-king Stanford experiment. Right there, jailers started to think they had to throw someone in jail at least once a day, and started creatively bending the rules, baiting people, creating dissent, what have you, just to have someone to punish. Friends of jailed people started grassroots campaigns in forums and lobbied for other clans to write their pleas and sigs. Enemies of jailed people led raids of people throwing imaginary buckets of shit. People escaped jail by deleting characters and starting new ones. That, understandably, pissed admins off, and they started rewriting live game to screw up clans who caused jailers trouble. Eventually everybody rage quit. It was glorious.